My name is Michael Guy Thompson, and I want to tell you a little bit about Gnosis Retreat Center, which is a residential home that colleagues and I established as an alternative to being placed in a mental hospital if you have a crisis. Very often, if you succumb to some sort of mental collapse, which has different diagnoses, you'll be taken to a crisis center or a mental hospital for treatment. You may not want to go there, but where else would you go if such a thing happens? If you try to stay at home, usually your family will feel overwhelmed because you're behaving in a strange way and they don't know what to do to make you feel comfortable and at ease, and may even feel a little frightened about what you're going through. So what happens at hospital? You'll be medicated. You'll be kept there for a few days or a few weeks until your symptoms abate, and then you'll be released and go back home. Now, you'll continue to be on medication, usually, and what happens then? How do you get all your life back? Now, people either go to hospital because they're in a crisis and have an acute episode and need instant help to try to collect themselves and calm down, or they have a chronic situation that's not so much a crisis or acute, but they're afraid, they don't go out very much, they don't get along with other people, they've lost touch with their friends, they can't work. And this is going on and on and on, probably for years. And they may intermittently go into hospital, but for the most part, they're living at the mercy of people who have to take care of them. Gnosis Retreat Center is an alternative to this situation, where it's neither a hospital setting nor the family's home where the person usually lives. It is, however, a home environment of about 8 to 10 people, a couple of them staff, maybe some students, but the idea is to create an environment that is not a treatment facility, but yet is still a healing experience. What makes it healing? Well, first of all, the fact that it's not being treated against your will. You're not being medicated if you don't want medication. And you're there with other people who are experiencing similar situations as you are. So the idea is that over time, you're just living, doing your thing. There's no regimen, there's no program. You're acting as though you would in any living home environment, getting to know the other people that are there too. In our experience, we found that if you're able to have such an environment without any pressure being put on you to be in any particular way, to be in therapy if you want or not, it's your choice, that over time, 6 months, maybe a year, you'll go through some significant changes in your personality and your ability to cope with other people. This approach is not so unusual in Europe. It began in the 1960s with R.D. Laing at Kingsley Hall, where an experiment was conducted to see just what would happen if such an approach were offered. And they discovered that it had amazing potential for people that want this kind of experience. It continues to this day in Europe. All over Europe, there are other experiments of this nature taking place. And for a brief period, these experiments were also being conducted in the United States in the 1970s. After the 80s, the public turned away from this approach, the funding dried up, and it's no longer available. Today, there are small places, alternatives to hospitals, that are available. for people that want to do that without having to be forced into treatments that they don't want, but they will be medicated, and they're very, very expensive. Since our program is so small and intimate, we're able to keep the cost significantly at reduced rates. So we, well, I don't know where to go with it. Where do you want me to do now?
So
What else should I include?
So I think we might say here that
I mean, we don't want to get into a lot of details about, you know, the cost and all that. That's something they'll find out by looking at the website.
yeah. But you know, here I would say maybe, you know, because public funding has dried out, we rely entirely on, you know, private funding and on the generosity of donors. We need your help.
Okay. Now, one of the problems with offering this kind of model is the cost. Public funding, whether it's municipal, state, or federal, is all geared to short stays in hospitals, medication, release from treatment. There is very little opportunity for an ongoing, longer-term situation. So because we don't have funding, we rely on private funding. Our clients will pay most of the fee for staying at Gnosis Retreat Center, but we also want to subsidize that for people that don't have as much money. So we need your help, and we need your donations and contributions to subsidize those very people. We're in the process now of negotiating a house in San Francisco that we hope will be opened sometime this year. And we're now on a fundraising drive to get funds to help us in the early stages of opening this house. So please give us your support and contact us if you have any questions or interest in knowing more about Gnosis Retreat Center.